with all due respect, and this is my report, by the way, to the citizens of the City of Alliance, as Safety and Judiciary Chair, I want to make that very clear. Law Director, I appreciate the fact that you recognize that you are legal counsel for all of us. But some of the things I've seen lately, I have to question. And you sat there last council meeting when we went to executive session without giving advice to us that was so clearly laid out today that we couldn't possibly have made a mistake. So I'm just a little bit disappointed that we're getting sued again. You know, I guess on a little more humorous note, at least the guy that's suing us knows who the enemy is this time. But I still don't like having my name associated with a lawsuit, especially for actions I didn't commit myself. A lot of what I was going to talk about has already been gone over, but I want the City of Alliance to understand. There was a Alliance Police Sergeant that was going to be promoted to Lieutenant. That was back in January of 16. His name is X, good guy. And the Safety Service Director had a plan to, at least he shared with me, he had a plan to demote him. And it got a lot of press at the time. And his suggestion was that I, as Safety and Judiciary Committee Chair, should produce legislation basically abolishing that position. And we had a lot of talks about it, but I wasn't willing to do that. So he said, well, that's okay, I'll figure out another way. Later on, much later on, the conversation came up about an assistant chief's position, which I didn't really understand, having it been vacant for 7 years. So he gave a test. The captains didn't want it, lieutenants took it, and the lieutenant got promoted to the position of assistant police chief. 14 days later, he got demoted to senior captain, taking a tenured captain to the position of lieutenant. And I've not asked anybody, but I would ask you, did he get the pay reduction along with the rank reduction, or did he continue with the same pay? So he lost a couple bucks an hour? So probably close to $5,000 a year because he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, I guess. And then the police chief was put on administrative leave, which I think is a de facto suspension, just so everybody understands that. And a patrolman was put on administrative leave, but again, I think that was a de facto suspension. And then the captain who got promoted or got demoted and reduced in pay gets elevated to the position of acting chief of police, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense. And I still don't understand that, although he just quietly told me he'd be happy to explain it. So maybe when I'm done, he will, if that's what you guys want to hear, I don't know. I've been trying to get answers long enough, I'm not going to ask anymore. But what I know about the police officers is they're good people. And when their rank structure gets disrupted the way it has, there's a lot of nervousness, there's a lot of concern for their own well-being, for their jobs. You add that to a time like we have right now where our finances are in really bad shape and we have a morale problem, you know. We have such a significant morale problem that the FOP actually said that they had no confidence in the Safety Service Director. I was kind of surprised this morning to see that the International Association of Firefighters said the same thing. But they went up to fire these police officers. They said they had no confidence in the mayor either. I'm your Safety and Judiciary Chair. Been affiliated with the city for 40 years. I've never heard or seen anything like this. We got problems, folks. We got problems financially. I don't know how in the world any citizen of the City of Alliance is going to say, well, let's give you more money. We'll raise your taxes. So I think what we're going to have to do is really buckle down and find a way to give high levels of service without the money that we're accustomed to using. And I'm really sorry we have to say that. We will meet, we will try, but we can't make money. That has to be given to us by the taxpayers, and we have to do that on voting day. So As I said earlier when I was sitting and my back was to you, there is rules that can be promulgated by the Safety Service Director for various departments. And he can take certain actions, but he can't suspend a police officer. That's the exclusive control of the police chief. And realistically, Acting Chief Jenkins should have done the suspension if Griffith wouldn't have. I don't know whether he would or wouldn't have been. I don't know anything about that. But I'm just saying I do know the process because I lived it. And also, there is an order that says if you talk to one of us or him or somebody, you gotta put it in writing. Well, it's caused a lot of difficulty in communication, and I apologize to all of you. I don't go to FOP meetings. I don't associate in any way because these restrictive rules that probably fly in the face of the United States Constitution shouldn't be in place. And I've asked the Safety Service Director to repeal that. I hope that he will. You know, I'm a Republican. I ran on the Republican ticket. Everybody up here is Republican. We've all had a very cordial relationship up to this point. I really don't know how that relationship's going to be going forward. It's very disappointing, but this I'll assure you. If you want this guy to stand down, you got to knock him down. We're going to do the right things the right way. And if somebody on council wants to say, no, we don't want to hear it, you need to be quiet, go talk somewhere else, that's what this forum is for. You didn't get elected up here because you're the brightest people in the room. You got elected up here because the brightest people in the city wanted you up here representing them. That's why we're here. And that's what we have to do. The quality of life in the city of Alliance is vital to our success. The safety forces are vital to our success. We need them, we want them, but we have to be responsible in all of our dealings. And as you've heard me say a couple times, this has been very sloppy. Had it been done right, I wouldn't have had a word to say. I assure you, I could have sat there quietly and just been an observer. But the process is flawed. And maybe you don't like what Councilwoman Jakmides is saying, but she's making a lot of very, very good points. We need to follow the rules. I applaud you today for feeding the information for the secret meeting, the executive session. But that's the kind of stuff this thing has to do from now on, if we want the public to respect us and support us. And I'm telling you, I didn't work all my life in this city to lose my reputation now. So we all got to pick up the pace. We got to do the right things the right way from now on.
Well, I intended to give a committee report that would once again be asking questions of the administration, but since I have been silenced, I will stand here and give my report to all of you. I've been on council for almost 6 years, and in the time that I've been on council, council has been very timid. We don't challenge the administration a lot. We've had a great working relationship with everyone in the administration, and I have very much enjoyed my time on city council. But when there were major issues alleged in the Alliance Police Department, and suddenly our chief was put on administrative leave, and a patrolman was put on administrative leave, I started asking some more questions. I've always had nothing but respect for Chief Griffith and never heard a bad thing about him, and I thought it was very strange. So I started asking questions, I started asking for documents, I started looking at expenditures, and I am appalled that I am not allowed to ask questions about what I have uncovered. No one can provide me authority for who's signing contracts, how much these contracts cost, where the money is coming from. We're told that the legal services line item in our budget is paying for the firm Clemens Nelson, but the firm Clemens Nelson is not actually a firm. They are consultants, but these consultants are providing legal services. It's circular. All we have done for the last 3 meetings now is go in circles. And I can assure you that as much as anybody here, I would rather be focusing on the allocation of funds in our budget, on the fiscal emergency that is pending over our city. But there are questions that need to be answered. I am disgusted that the members of this body have tried to silence me from asking my questions tonight. And I'm sorry, Mrs. Cherry, but it is my time to talk right now.
Talk. Wow. Tell
I'm the youngest person in this room by about 30 years, and I'm so sorry if I have offended you by my age,
Oh,
but
that
I will
doesn't offend
continue
Jerry,
to ask
she has the
questions.
floor.
She's talking
I
directly
don't
to me,
care,
sir,
she has the floor.
and I want to answer.
You'll have your
I
opportunity.
will not let any person, up here or anywhere else, prevent me from doing my job as an at-large member of this body, as the chairman of the Finance Committee, and I will continue to do it. And I'm terribly sorry if I'm offending my fellow council members, but since I wasn't allowed to ask my questions, I will make my statement. This city has a pattern of hiring services, spending money, and then maybe perhaps after the fact, considering contractual language and formal agreements. And that is backwards. Two different ordinances in 2008 and 2010 were introduced by our former mayor, specifically contracting for legal services. Why was that a policy then, but it's not a policy now? Why did we need council's authority to approve of these contracts, to make sure that we knew the boundaries of these contracts at that time, but we don't now? And no one can answer these questions. And now suddenly I'm prevented from even asking them in the first place. So apparently my use of social media has previously offended members of the administration, but if you'd like to follow along with my continued inquiry, you can find me on Facebook.
Okay, moving on. We are now at time for public speaks. This time is allotted for someone who wishes to address council. As you listen to that, you'll be allowed 3 minutes. Please come forward, state your name, address, and your topic. And the only person who signed up is Jim Dyke. Mr. Dyke, please, your name, address, and topic.
Ms. Jakmides, I applaud you. Mr. Dordea, I applaud you. Other council members here, I'm ashamed that you're elected officials in this city. I really am. Disgrace. Every one of you turn around and look at all the police officers and firefighters in this room. In the history of the city of Alliance, there has never been a vote of no confidence against the mayor, safety service director, anybody in administration. And you have 2 right now. And these guys are all in fear of their jobs because of this order that's placed on them. That is ridiculous. It's condescending to them. You make them feel like they're nothing to this administration. And Mr. Mayor, you sit up there in disgust and shake your head. I voted for you. I'm disgusted that I did. I've researched for days trying to find case law, anything that says the chief should be suspended when somebody files a complaint against the department. If it's not filed against the department, if it's not filed directly against the chief, why is the chief suspended? Can't find anything that says there's hundreds of complaints a day filed against police departments. Their chief isn't automatically suspended. But here in the city of Alliance, Mr. Dreger feels that this is his city, as he has told many people that he can do what he wants. So he did it. It's clear with the amount of tax dollars that have been spent on outside legal sources to pursue the negativity with the police department. Mr. Dreger clearly has a vendetta against the Alliance Police Department and the safety services of this city. I have started a petition, and I will continue with this petition to call on the mayor to fire Mike Dreger. Period. This is not how we operate in the city of Alliance, and it shouldn't be. None of you guys should be sitting at this table happy about it. Mr. Rome, you're concerned about moving on with bigger and better. We have better right here in this room that you should be concerned about. You're concerned about bigger fish to fry.
You have 30 seconds.
What about these people here? Of course I do. I've got so many things I want to discuss about the Westville Lake and everything, but this is what really bothers me. As a citizen of this city, I'm limited to 3 minutes, but the safety service director can take 3 hours. Any of you people can take as long as you want, but you limit us residents to say anything because you don't want to hear what we say because it doesn't fit your agenda. Again, Mr. Mayor, I call on you to fire Mike Dreger. I will present this petition when it's complete. There's always an option of a recall, and that's being looked at.